Postvention is a term that includes everything done after a suicide to help a community heal and to prevent any further suicides. As a person involved with the memorial, you can play an important role in the postvention process. This video contains information from suicide prevention groups that can be helpful. Accurate information and responsible communication after a suicide are very important because that information has the potential to increase or decrease the risk of additional suicides among those affected by the loss. Chances are you might have a direct relationship with the survivors of the loss to suicide. This is an opportunity to provide information and comfort to the wider community as it seeks to heal after the suicide. It's important that funerals or memorial services foster an atmosphere that will help survivors understand, heal, and move forward in as healthy a manner as possible. The Suicide Prevention Resource Center recommends 8 areas to consider when planning a funeral or memorial service. We will cover the highlights in this video. For a more detailed explanation, please consult the Funeral Directors and Memorial Officiants chapter in the Postvention Guide as a resource. Comfort the grieving. A death by suicide will lead to many questions from survivors and great emotional pain. Survivors of a loss to suicide need close friends and family to comfort them, especially in the immediate days following a suicide. Survivors often seek support and comfort from their faith communities during this time. By acknowledging this as a part of the memorial, you help people understand better what their survivors of loss are experiencing and how to get them the support they need in their grief. Help survivors deal with feelings of guilt. Family and close friends of someone who has committed suicide often feel guilty for not recognizing any signs of suicide risk in their loved one, or for not acting on the signs, or for not believing that the person would actually go through with it. Blame is not a word that should be associated with suicide. A memorial service can help the family, friends, and community understand that it is not their fault. People will want answers, but few will be immediately available, so it is important to help them better understand suicide and offer them support, including spiritual and emotional, while they are grieving. Help survivors face feelings of anger. Anger is considered by many mental health professionals to be a normal part of the grieving process. Acknowledging these feelings of anger and showing support for survivors of a loss at a funeral is important. It can help community members understand why a survivor of loss to suicide is angry and reinforce that feelings of anger do not negate the love felt for the person who died. Address stigma. Stigma remains a hurdle in suicide prevention, intervention, and postvention in Alaska. Stigma can be one of the greatest barriers to healing from a loss by suicide. It's important to face stigma directly at a memorial service. For instance, dispelling the myths that suicide is caused by moral weakness or character flaws will help open the hearts of the community to supporting the survivors. Mentioning an illness such as depression in brief, specific, and matter-of-fact ways can help keep it in proportion. It was only one part of the larger context of who the deceased was as a whole and complex person. This can help people understand the relationship between suicide and mental illness and encourage others to seek help if needed. Some people in attendance could be dealing with their own depression in silence, so your words could help them find hope. Some families may not want this information included in the memorial. While it's important to respect their wishes, you can use this as an opportunity to educate them about the increased risk of suicide experienced by survivors of a loss to suicide, about how suicide contagion affects our towns and villages, and how they could be of help to others feeling the same pain and distress their loved ones felt. Use appropriate language. Words used at a memorial service can have a lasting impression on those in attendance. Positive messaging can help prevent suicide contagion, while negative messaging could increase the risk of contagion. People chosen to give eulogies should choose their words carefully. Offer to help those speaking at the memorial to find positive and loving words to share at the memorial. Prevent imitation and modeling. The goal of a memorial service is to remember the life of the person who died, not glamorize his or her death. Since suicide contagion is such a great concern after a suicide, it is important to communicate at a memorial service in a way that will reduce the possibility of others imitating the suicide behavior of the deceased. Encourage them to focus on the good things the person accomplished in life. Funerals and memorials for individuals who die by suicide should avoid the standard words of comfort, such as finding a better place, being at peace, or following God's plan. Encourage a memorial service that empowers the community to prevent future deaths by suicide by highlighting the prevention resources available and ways to support each other in times of crisis. Consider the special needs of youth. During a memorial service related to suicide, especially one for a young person, the youth should be addressed very directly about the scope of suicide and the pain it leaves behind in a community. Young people are the most vulnerable to imitating a friend or loved one's suicide. Positive coping skills such as seeking help from a teacher, counselor, coach, or trusted adult in the community should be encouraged. Consider appropriate public memorials. It is natural for people to want to honor their friends or loved ones when they die, especially when the person dies at a young age. However, grand memorials can glamorize the suicide and actually encourage other people who feel lost, ignored, depressed, and alone to choose to commit suicide as a way to be acknowledged by the community. Encourage constructive ways to honor the person's life and promote healing. As we mentioned at the beginning, please consult the Postvention Guide, Postvention Planning Next Steps chapter for more comprehensive and detailed information. You can also find information for more resources on these pages.